I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
podcast
on the Citadel.
Welcome to Andromenerds, the #1 Mass Effect podcast on the internet.
In the world.
My name is Minius of Minius GC, and with me are my co-hosts, Tucker from Mass Effect Follower.
Hello, everyone. I did survive the hurricane.
Woo! And the one and only BioFan.
How's it going? I still have a little bit of mucus, so I apologize for that.
Still?
Yeah, I'm still a little bit... I got the plague, okay? I got the friggin' plague.
You're exaggerating, right? Because you totally be in
Yeah,
real
I don't
shape.
have the literal plague, Minius. I just have an upper respiratory infection.
Hey, this is episode number 10.
Hey!
Yeah.
Whoa!
Double digits!
Well, fireworks just went off where I live.
Woo!
See,
Oh,
they
yeah.
know it. It's
They
episode
know
number
it.
10. I'm gonna
Yeah.
add some sound effects right here.
Okay.
All right, cool. So Andromenerds post every week, Thursdays at noon Pacific, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 8 at night in the UK. If you'd like to contribute to the show with a question or topic suggestion, email us at andromenerds@gmail.com. And we're going to start the show a little bit backwards. Our main topic's going to be science, which we'll get to later, because there's a little news thingies. First of all, BioFan, you have a theory that you're super eager about. It better not be about blue butts again, because I'm gonna mute you.
No, it doesn't directly have anything to do with blue butts. Indirectly, sure. Directly, no. So, a commenter on one of my videos suggested that I go look at Morn's voice actress and then compare that to the voice of the Asari in the new gameplay footage in her voice, and it actually sounds like scary similar. Like Morn's voice and this is the new Asari's voice. I'll send you guys a link to Mornth talking. It sounds like crazy similar. Like,
yeah, I've checked that out.
Crazy
it does
similar.
sound very similar. That'd be a little weird because she's already voiced an Asari.
But she didn't have a lot of lines though. So.
Yeah, but you could bring her along. I guess I never really did bring her along, so I don't know how many more lines she
and
has.
if you do bring her along when she's out in the field with you, she impersonates her mom, so it's not her lines really.
Maybe I got to replay these things way too many times.
But yeah, that's one thing just to look at, because I thought it sounded a lot like Courtney Taylor, who voiced Jack, and it still does kind of, but Natalia Sigluti, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, sounds...
I don't think she says it that slowly.
What?
That would, yeah.
I don't think she says it that
Okay,
slowly.
well, you know what? But I think it sounds
South
a lot
American
like her.
Italian.
Yeah, the voice sounds really similar. And then a little kind of biology anecdote from my real life. I had like an anatomy and physiology test this week, and one of the questions I know only because I've played Mass Effect, and that is, so on your oxcoxa, which is like your hip bone, you have these kind of wing-like structures that are called the ilium. So I was like, well, that's a planet from Mass Effect. Boom, instant no. And I got that on the test.
Okay, I'm glad they didn't say like, is faster than light travel possible? And you're like, yes, you just need some EZO. Because you're not going to get that right. I mean, it's...
No, but I got ilium right. I was like, it's your hip wing thing. Boom.
Okay, anyway, these are little tiny notes. There was a leak, sort of a pop toy list that's coming out. And I believe it was January. There were a couple Mass Effect Andromeda items coming out, and one of the names that was on that was Sarah, and we have a bunch of different ideas about that. First of all, if you want to pronounce it Sarah, you're probably right, but
No, you're
in
wrong.
North America, we pronounce it Sarah, and the game's being made in North America, so if it is just Sarah, then it may be pronounced Sarah, which is a little weird. If it is Sarah, that's a bit different than Sarah from Dragon Age Inquisition. It might not even be a real name. And also, what did you spot?
I think it is kind of...
Now,
you
actually,
go first.
before we get into that, there is one pop coming out in January and another coming out in February. So they're not both coming out in January.
Okay. Yes, you are correct. The Sarah one in January.
It is kind of weird, though, if they do go with the name Sarah, because they have Sarah in Dragon Age Inquisition. So I don't... Unless Sarah is the name of the default name of female writer, which you can change, by the way. People that were all complaining in my video when I revealed that, they were all like, I want to pick my own name. Like, you will get to. But unless it's the protagonist, I don't see that getting through the editing team at all, because they had Sarah for Dragon Age Inquisition. But if it's the protagonist's name, I guess I could see that, since she's so much more important.
Sarah is also a very common name. So it's like, if you use it in one thing, that does not mean you can never use that ever again in anything.
It doesn't, but at the same time, for the very next product they put out, I think the editing team would be like, hell no, you can't use that. They've done less things.
Don't use Sarah, use Stephanie.
They've changed character names for less. Like, for example, for Dragon Age Inquisition, Vivian was not originally Vivian. I think it was Hilda. And if you Google image Hilda, it's like this semi-erotic, busty woman from Europe that's used in different kind of like art things. So they were like, oh, we don't want her associated with that. We have to change her name. So they've changed names for less.
Because we definitely, because a BioWare game, we definitely don't want anything sexual to ever accidentally come up.
I'm just saying.
Sorry.
They have changed character names for less. So
What about Morden Solus and then Solus?
Apparently, that is just happenstance. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's actually something I get confused a lot about. Whenever people talk about Solus, I'm like,
when
Morden?
I interviewed Patrick Weeks, that was one of the questions I asked him, and he said it was just happenstance. Like when they named Morden Solus, and it's also spelled differently, by the way. When they named Morden Solus, I think they already had the idea of naming Solus in Dragon Age Inquisition.
I looked up the pictures of Hilda, and they look like rejected Playboy pinups from the 1950s.
Yep, there you go.
So the other thing about
I've been playing a lot of Mafia 3, so those are...
I want to touch on one real quick thing about the name. You mentioned that names for the protagonists have always been changeable.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'll be able to change both the brother and sister's name since there's a pair of siblings?
I think, because obviously you aren't going to call your sibling like, oh, fellow writer member family thing. Like, you're going to call them by your first name. So that's probably like, if you choose female writer, you'll call your brother Scott.
Then the male writer would be Scott, and the other way around would be...
female...
Yeah, they'll make voice, like setting up all the voice acting stuff, that'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, though, if that'll anger people. If you can name your own character, but your sibling has a set name. Let us know if that's going to annoy you.
Well, if you're picking one character, then too bad. It's the other character's set up as it is. Unless they pull a Fallout 4 kind of thing where you can customize the way they both look, but still, you can't... Can you change the other person's name?
I think you can, but they end up calling you like he or she.
You can't change their
name. Yeah, and they also
name.
die within like the first 15 minutes of the game.
You will still later in the game refer to them, like you refer to the wife as Nora later in the game, so you don't change their name. But in
that's true.
Mass Effect, in Andromeda, you can change your protagonist's name. I don't know if you can change your siblings. In Dragon Age 2, when you have the Hawk family, they get away with calling you brother or sister the whole time. But I don't know, that seems like it fits more for Dragon Age setting, but for a Mass Effect more modern day kind of story, it'd be kind of weird. You know?
And also in the trilogy, everyone calls you Shepard. They never call you John or anything like that.
Yeah, because they can't voice inputs to where any name you type in can be said. The technology's not quite there yet. You're writer or you're a Pathfinder, but I don't think your sibling would... I don't know what your sibling would call you. Probably like brother or sister, but you call them like Sarah or Scott.
Could be a nickname thing.
No, it's not just that. It's also, this is something that one of the writers at Mass Effect Follower pointed out. The name could be also cut off. Because if you look through the list, there are other names that are cut off. What?
Which writer? Give the person credit.
Dan, who is one of the writers at Mass Effect Follower.
Shout out to Dan.
He pointed out that the names are cut off. that some of them are cut off at a certain point. So it could be Sarah Della Lapatis.
Of course, if you can probably put Sarah into a 3-syllable Asari name because we don't have a name for the Asari confirmed yet.
Or
also,
it could be,
and also a pop version of the Raccoon Asari that'd be adorable.
Yeah, I would totally buy that.
It'd be a little bit weird if her name was Sarah and she's not Liara. I think that wouldn't work.
Sarah, Liara.
Yeah, there's that.
But also, maybe if the Asari is Sarah, she has a human father, male or female father. That would name her a human name. That would also work.
I also, digressing back to a shout out to Dan, he's the one that writes all the lore videos on Mass Effect Follower.
Double shout out to Dan.
So he's been kicking ass with those. Although he wrote those a while ago. I wrote the Elcor one, but he wrote those a while ago. They're still pretty good. So he's a writer. He is the writer. And Elwyn. They're both the writers at Mass Effect Follower.
I want some writers.
Both of them are fantastic.
I can't afford anybody.
Yeah, I can't
Good
either.
for you, dude. You're going to make us all jealous.
That's the difference between. That's the difference. Well,
and make it go so much faster. No wonder you get videos out all the time. You don't have to write your own.
I got 2 writers and I got another video editor. So,
one more little thing that I wanted to point out, and I don't know if this actually means anything. There are 2 major EA games coming out this month. One is coming out tomorrow, if you're listening to this, and the other one's coming out next week, and that's weird because they're both on a Friday, October 31st
That's really
and
weird.
October 28th.
What comes out on the 31st?
Is one of them a horror game, though? I could see Halloween being, like, a thing, but I don't know why.
Battlefield 1 is coming out on the 21st, and this is in North America.
I thought you said 31st.
So normally, the game is in the UK and Europe come out on Fridays all the time.
Well, are they making it a global release then? And that's why they pushed them back to Fridays?
I don't know. In the case of Battlefield 1, they're doing Super Money thing, where you can buy early access and play it on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
Hold on.
there's that.
But-
I'm going to go to Amazon UK and find out.
But then also Titanfall 2 comes out the next Friday. On a Friday. And there is no early access to that.
Oh,
There isn't? They
No,
typically
there is not.
typically love doing that.
I do not know that.
Although, I imagine that the early release, and they also did it with Battlefront.
Oh, Minius, by the way, you got the date wrong. The 28th is the Friday, not the 31st.
I said 28th.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, then
Anywho.
they must be doing a global release for Titanfall 2 and that other one, because in the UK it's also the 28th for the release date, so I'm guessing it's a global release kind of deal, maybe?
A reason why they could be doing the early access for like Battlefield 1, the same reason why they did it for Battlefront, is, Battlefield, even though the campaign looks amazing, that's not the main focus for a lot of fans. It's the multiplayer. So, if they put the campaign out, or if there's spoilers, people don't care as much, while Titanfall 2 is the first one where they're having a campaign. And they're probably, not probably, they put a lot of effort into the campaign, and they probably don't want it spoiled for the masses.
There's also the possibility that since Battlefield 1 is coming out on a Friday, they want to give that as much room as possible. So they're pushing that to a Friday.
Well, they typically do Tuesday releases, so if there's any issues with the game, they can get it fixed before the weekend.
Anyway, we've gotten a little bit sideways.
They can get servers all good and everything.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because these are EA games and Mass Effect is an EA game. So that opens up the possibility of a Friday release, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, that I would agree with you if we are at the point where we think it's the 21st.
Yeah,
because of the book
I'm
thing.
Very confident about the 21st because the art book. And for those that didn't listen to the last episode or haven't seen our videos recently, so the art book for Mass Effect Andromeda is confirmed to come out on the 21st of March, and Amazon also said it would come out simultaneously, depending on how much you respect Amazon as a source. But also look at Dragon Age Inquisition. Its art book came out the same day as the game as well. So March 21st is very, very likely the release date for Mass Effect Andromeda, which is on a Tuesday.
Here's why it's important, though, and this is the only reason why it's important. The crown. If it bumps up a Friday, if it bumps up one Friday, you get the crown outright. If it bumps back one Friday, I get the crown outright.
Okay.
Very important.
If it hits the 21st,
I'm sitting
we
in
both
here
get a
with my
crown.
February release date.
If it gets bumped up by a month, Tucker gets the crown.
Dude, I'm sitting here with my February release date still, hey, it could be. You never know.
All right, so today, as people are listening to this, it's Thursday. Guess what I'm doing in a couple hours?
What do you do?
I'm going to play the crap out of Civ 6.
Nice.
Going to play the crap out of it, which is how I noticed the Friday release date thing, because that is on a Friday, which is weird. But I figured that a lot of people know we like Mass Effect. I mean, some of you guys have backgrounds in other games. BioFan, obviously, BioWare games are your thing. Tucker has a huge Halo background, but you guys don't know what kind of games we like other than just Mass Effect. So I thought, hey, let's talk about what kind of games we like and maybe come up with some suggestions for you for games you can play while we wait for Mass Effect Andromeda, which still is many months out.
Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time. You have time to play some games.
You do.
You have what
Especially
is it,
some of the games I have suggestions for that are 2-hour games that are extremely worth it.
Well, what kind of games do you guys normally like? I mean, let's start with BioFan because I think he's the easiest.
I have a collection in my hand.
Okay, so you like games like Dragon Age, right? Do you like Dragon Age?
Oh, no, I hate Dragon Age. No, I love Dragon Age so much. Dragon Age, I love Mass Effect, don't get me wrong, but Dragon Age is my baby. I love Dragon Age. It was the first BioWare game I ever played. I love Dragon Age. I also really like Pokemon games, the ones that come out for the DS, so the different versions. I occasionally will pick up an Assassin's Creed. The last few have really disappointed me. Syndicate was really good, though. I enjoyed that. I also liked Fallout 4. I play around Soul Calibur games occasionally, mostly for
Really?
Yeah, mostly for that part of the game where you can kind of create a character. I loved doing that.
Okay.
I made concepts for my Inquisitors back before Inquisition released in that because it had really good create a character and make your character, customize outfits, change colors and whatnot. I recently just finished replaying one of my favorite old RPGs of all time, which was Enchanted Arms that came out in 2006 for the Xbox 360. Love that game so much. I think it's on PS3 as well. Love Enchanted Arms. It's really good. I also really like Sims games. I kind of create my own little stories and things through that. I like the Sims stuff. Though the game that I would suggest playing while you're waiting for Mass Effect Andromeda is because it's made by some former BioWare developers. It's an indie game called the Banner Saga, and there's 2 games so far. It's going to be a trilogy, possibly more after that, but at first it's going to be a trilogy, and there's 2 so far, Banner Saga and Banner Saga 2, and it's about Vikings, and there's this thing that goes on that's similar to kind of the Blight, but it's a little more complicated in terms of morality, and it's really good because you make all these choices and people die, and there's also this kind of asset management to the choices as well because you have food and resources and things and people to feed and things like that, and it's actually what were you gonna say?
I have Banner Saga 2 because that was one of the free games with gold.
Yeah.
Do you have to play the first one, or is it 2 different stories set in the same area, like Dragon Age?
It's a direct continuation, but if you play the first one, you can go into the second one with all of your resources and stuff.
Okay. So I'll grab the first one.
And you'll meet a lot of the characters that are in the second one that are in the first one, and there's a lot of context in terms of the world in the first one. So I really suggest playing the first one and then the second one. I think they're only $20 if you don't get them free on gold.
They're
really
cheap,
not that expensive.
And they're available everywhere pretty much.
And I think they're 15 to 20 hours each. So they're not huge, but pretty good. The second one's better, but the first one you got to play.
Somewhat topical question. Have you played Knights of the Old Republic?
I haven't.
I
want to play it. I have not played it yet.
I have.
No!
I played the beginning area for the Stormtroopers about 4 times, but every time I play it, I get reminded of RuneScape, and I go and start playing the old 2007 old school RuneScape servers that are up.
Okay, if you're
do
a
that.
Mass Effect fan and you're listening to this and you don't have a game to play, I would recommend Knights of the Old Republic because that is pretty much the proto Mass Effect, straight up proto Mass Effect.
Okay. I should definitely get onto that because I have it. Like I intend to play it. I just have it sitting in a drawer at the moment.
Written by Drew Karpyshyn, directed by Casey Hudson. It's got Jennifer Hale in it. It's got Raphael Sparge in it.
Ooh.
It's a legitimate proto Mass Effect, and you can see the bones everywhere.
Can you romance Raphael Sbarge's character? That's my main question.
Oh man, I don't remember that
Because he voices Caden, and if there's Caden in Star Wars, I will be right there right now.
I don't think I played it multiple times, and I remember romancing Jennifer Hale's character. Although I don't remember romance being a big
Okay, well, I will find
deal in
out.
it. But then again, the last time I played it all the way through was a while ago. I played it partially, and it kind of holds up. And you can get it everywhere now, and it's not very expensive. So that would be one of the games I'd recommend. BioWare game, by the way.
I will get on that
BioFan.
because I've needed to play it, so I will play it.
That's surprising. Okay, Tucker, do you want to talk about games for a while? Because we like video games here on Andromenerds.
Oh, I mean, an issue with that is I play almost every single video game thanks to
That's horrible.
having a lot of friends that all play video games and sharing the games like that, and from Full Sail getting games there and just all that stuff.
I don't see how that's an issue, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, like, when it comes to, recommend video games, a lot of my stuff is just recent games I've been enjoying.
That works.
But my all-time favorite game is Portal 2.
Classic.
So, Portal 2, love the humor, love the puzzle, everything like that. But some recent games that I would really recommend that are just absolutely fantastic, and they both tell a absolutely amazing story without a single dialogue, is Unravel and Inside. Both of them tell a story without a single line of dialogue.
I like how Unravel does that. It was beautiful. But at the same time, I was looking for a relaxing experience, and I suck at Unravel. So after like 20 minutes, I was like, this is stressful. This is not what I wanted. And like put it down.
Well, Unravel is where you play as Yarny, and you're solving. Well, basically, this old woman makes you, and she's not there, and Yarny goes through her memories, like a memory book, goes through and plays the memories, trying to find her. So the very first few levels, you see her as a kid, and then as they grow up, as she's a teenager, and then she finds who is the grandparents, or who's the grandfather, and so you see them dating and going through. You see her life story, and it's amazing. The way it tells the story, and the music is beautiful. And my girlfriend actually made me a Yarny. She made one for me, which that's one of my favorite, probably one of my favorite things. But
if you're a fan of Mass
one,
Effect, though, how Mass Effect are these games? Because they didn't.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they're not related to Mass Effect at all. It's just that they were fantastic stories.
So you'd recommend them based on stories if you're a fan of Mass Effect?
Yeah. Because, I mean, Mass Effect is a fantastic story, and this one is obviously very story-based. And, well, the other one is Inside, which is made by the same people that made Limbo. And it is a weird dystopian future or kind of game where you play as a kid who breaks into a building where there's like slave kind of people, but they're like mind-controlled slaves, and you solve puzzles. And it's really weird, and I can't explain it without spoiling it.
Okay.
So, but it's made by the people that made Limbo. So if you enjoyed Limbo, you would enjoy Inside. And they're both like $15, and they're about 2 to 3 hours to complete.
All right, name a couple genres in general game you want. The one interesting thing I found about Mass Effect is it appeals to so many different people for so many different reasons. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. What other kinds of games do you normally gravitate to?
There is not a specific one. I just don't play sports games.
Not sports games.
Literally, the list of games that I've recently played is Mafia 3, Gears of War 4, South Park Stick of Truth, Unravel, and Halo, but I'm not counting that. I just play any game that I'm in the mood for, or any game I haven't gotten all the achievements for, because I do that. I like achievements.
How about some of the games that you've put the most hours to in the last 10 years, other than...
I was Master Chief Collection.
Okay. Halo, easy.
I've put over 700 hours into that game.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, if I look at it, it's like 700, 800 hours into that one game.
Yeah, when they start counting that high, I like to pretend that that number doesn't exist, because I feel bad for the rest of my life.
Either that or RuneScape, but does that really count? Because I've put like years of my life into RuneScape.
Totally counts.
Totally counts.
All right, yeah, RuneScape.
I think for me, the game I've spent the most time in would be Dragon Age Inquisition. Probably about 700 hours. Yeah.
What? You spend time playing Dragon Age Inquisition?
I have 13 Inquisitors, okay?
How long were you in the hinterlands?
Like 5 hours?
Ha! That's nothing.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Like my first playthrough, maybe like 10. But then after that, I was like, I've learned.
I've gotten Stockholm syndrome.
After like
the hinterlands.
After the first I guess 3 playthroughs, I figured out which quests to do to get the maximum amount of power points fastest to progress through the story faster. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
that's why I don't stay in the hinterlands too long. Yeah.
All right, so I have a number of different games that I like. Obviously, the number one genre of game that I like is action RPG. Really love those. And if you like action RPGs, and you probably do, because you are listening to a Mass Effect podcast, this suggestion is ridiculously obvious, but you need to play The Witcher 3.
Okay, I played it,
yeah,
and I got bored after an hour, and I haven't played it since.
Now, there's the thing about The Witcher 3 where it's different from Mass Effect games and BioWare games in general is that you play a specific character and you play, a straight white male, and that's it. So that doesn't appeal to everybody, but it's a phenomenal step forward in the very specific Mass Effect type game where it's conversational and branching choices and the way they do the open world and the combat.
Dude, branching choices. You got the Telltale games.
Oh yeah, those.
Like how you cut me off to talk about Telltale games, man. Witcher 3 drops those Telltale games on their face.
Like The Walking Dead is amazing. The Batman one I've heard is fantastic. There's The Wolf Among Us.
I did the Game of Thrones one. It was interesting.
Yeah, that's one that exists. I mean, they're all the Telltale games are, especially because if you're like Mass Effect, you're obviously liking the choice mechanic. And that's all that Telltale is.
So anyway, I recommend that you give Witcher 3 another shot and get into it. It may not be for you, but that is the number one recommendation I have.
I was just so bored because I didn't care about finding this one woman, and I didn't care about the griffin, and I'm like, what?
You didn't get past that point?
Yeah, I didn't kill the griffin yet because I was like, because I had to go talk to 20 people.
Hey, BioFan.
Yeah.
Go kill the griffin.
Okay.
Go kill the griffin.
That is the hinterlands.
That is the hinterlands of Witcher 3.
Okay.
Go kill the griffin.
But no, another one that's
BioFan, go kill the griffin.
Okay.
Another one that's about choice, that again is a side-scrolling kind of story game that there's no dialogue, but there's text, but there's no dialogue, is This War of Mine. If you've ever heard of that, that is probably the most depressing game you can ever play.
Excellent. Way to cheer people up.
It's a side-scrolling game where you have to keep this group of people alive. It takes place in a war, but you're not playing like an action person of Call of Duty. Instead, you're playing these civilians that are just stuck in a war-torn area, and you have to find food, shelter, make sure your people aren't sick. If they're injured, make sure they're not getting diseases from cuts, wounds, and as it becomes night, you send people out to scavenge, and you break into people's houses, and you're scavenging for food. And the one example is you find this elderly couple's house where they don't attack you, but this guy follows you around saying, "Please don't take our food. My wife needs that," or "Don't take the medication. My wife needs that to live. Please don't take it." And you can be nice to the AI and let that be there, or take it and have your people survive. And if you take it, when you come back, your person's now depressed. So you have to figure out how to make him feel better while the other people that are with you are like, I can't believe he took this stuff, but we needed to. It's about choices that you make, but there's no winning. It's depressing.
It sounds very interesting. Also sounds like I'm not sure I want to play it because of that.
If you want to feel like a piece of shit, that's the game to get.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's...
But it's a really, really good game.
I tend to pretty much just stick with RPGs. It's rare that I'll kind of veer off.
Have you played Stick of Truth, the South Park RPG game?
I have not played it yet.
If you like South Park, I'd recommend that game. Okay. It's pretty funny.
The other, I like a bunch of different other kinds of games.
New one is coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
The other game, and it's sort of one of the things I like action games, action RPGs, regular RPGs. I like real or turn-based strategy games a lot, which is why I brought up Civ 6 at the beginning of this. But if you haven't played FTL and you at all interested in turn-based strategy games, it's not quite turn-based, but you can pause whenever.
It's also space.
It's space.
There's other alien races.
You get choices, and you have crew members that die, and it's a small-scale version of Mass Effect in a way.
And you want to know something that I really love about that game? Oxygen actually makes a difference. Your characters die if there isn't the correct amount of oxygen in areas.
Weird, huh? But all the aliens breathe oxygen. I thought you had a problem with that.
Well, no, some of them don't.
One of them doesn't.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Okay, but there are characters in Mass Effect that don't breathe oxygen.
Like what?
Like the Volus.
They don't breathe oxygen?
I'm very certain they don't breathe oxygen.
With the Darth Vader thing and everything?
Okay,
what are they breathing? What are they...
Yeah, no, we've had this conversation before, so...
Oh, and did we find an answer? They breathe
no,
ammonia?
but they are on like a ammonia-based environment, so we're not going to get the answer on this. But I'm pretty sure they don't breathe oxygen.
Well, maybe if
whatever.
they
I want to move on.
In Andromeda, we will find that out.
We got to move on before we get trapped in this again.
Okay.
But that kind of is a segue to science.
Yes.
Science! We wanted to talk about science. We teased the science topic like a month and a half ago. And we're going to talk about it now. This basically came from a conversation in one of the videos that one of us did between BioFan and I, talking about the Helios cluster, which is where the game's going to take place. And the Helios cluster is a cluster of stars, they say hundreds of stars, that's thousands of light years across. And it might depend on, we're talking about cluster density.
Okay, can I jump in here?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to jump in, actually.
Okay.
Thank you for saving me.
Okay, so Andromeda is like 2,200,000 light years in diameter, and then the Milky Way is only 100,000. So it's a little bit over double in terms of physical size for the whole galaxy. But then in density, it has about so the amount of stars in the Milky Way is debated between 100 billion to 400 billion, with 100 billion being the most accepted in the scientific community.
I believe 200 billion is now the most accepted, but
we
don't
they
need to
change
debate
it
that.
in the last few months?
It's been 200 and for a while.
Because I made a video only a few months ago.
I saw your video, but I looked at this for a while. 200 to 400 is generally accepted range. But the point is that, man,
Andromeda has a trillion of them. A trillion stars.
That's also debated, but higher towards.
I mean, they
can't
go in and count all of them. So
you can't count to a trillion.
It's a master debate.
The biggest issue there is you got a bunch of stars that are together. I don't find that funny, but
so
it's just really lame.
You have about a little bit over double the amount of space, but you also have a trillion stars instead of 200, 100 billion stars. So they're all closer together, so it's more densely packed. So systems would be closer together.
Now here's why I wanted to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a theory, and we don't know this for sure because we have never found life anywhere else, so we don't really know what conditions are needed. But ideally, as far as we know, the way life's created, it is not conducive to life to be around a whole bunch of stars, because stars have a tendency to explode. And if they explode, they will wipe out or seriously disrupt life in their immediate area. So the more stars that are closely packed into an area, the more likely there is to be a supermassive star that explodes and does damage to life.
Right?
Yeah, supernova does damage to all the life in the area.
Well,
and
maybe, Minius, you just found the major conflict of Andromeda is we arrived, but stuff is exploding.
You totally stole my thunder. The thunder has been stolen. That is where I was going with, why the remnant have been wiped out. Could be a supernova. Maybe. Theoretically, if you move faster in life, you can get away from supernova. But in essence, why we talking about like technological difficulties and technological progression, where in the Milky Way, your technological progression as a species is cut off after 50,000 years, period, because of the Reapers. But in Andromeda, it's not. Maybe the reason that the people in the Andromeda don't technologically progress is because they're in a denser area and because they get cut off by the environment of so many stars packed together so often. Just a postulation.
I'm just remembering that Courage the Cowardly Dog episode where he had to drive into the sun and he changed the light bulb that was inside the sun because it was dying.
Science!
Right?
Why did I take that in a super unscientific direction?
Dude, Courage the Cowardly Dog was the best thing.
Okay.
So,
I can't dispute that. But
can I jump in now?
Aha.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
Okay,
go.
so the Milky Way is 13 billion years old. Andromeda is 9 billion years old. Younger, but bigger. So we don't really know when... Do we know when exactly the Reapers were created and started destroying everything?
We do not know exactly
It's unknown.
It's unknown, but it's a bazillion years ago.
The window actually is closer to a billion.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was going to say the timeline for Mass Effect is unknown to a billion BC, because the unknown part were the Leviathans and everything, and they created creating the Reapers. But at 1 billion BC was when the Leviathan of Dis is killed by the Leviathans. It is noted at 1 billion BC.
It's basically Leviathan of Dis is a proto-Reaper before the very first harvest. So the spot that you're talking about is the war between the Leviathans and the being that became the Reapers.
Okay, so
and
that's
I'm assuming that 1 billion is a very vague number. That's
Oh, I'm sure it's not exact.
Okay, well,
but,
anyway.
It's...
Okay, the reason why I asked is because if you look at Andromeda, that's 9 billion years old, and they don't, that we know of, and hopefully not, they don't have Reapers, so they don't have that 50,000 year cycle thing. So there's been about 180,000 cycles that have never happened, but that doesn't include the time it took for life to start up and whatnot. So they don't have Reapers, so they didn't have the Reapers to give them the technology from like the mass relays that helped the Milky Way races advance faster, but they have existed without Reapers wiping them out every 50,000 years. So I don't know how technologically advanced compared to us they'll be. I want to say maybe it kind of evens out of no Reapers but no mass relays to, to be like equal to us.
Well, and they could have something there that has been wiping them out, their version of the Reapers.
Yeah, but that'd be
I
so
hope they
cheap.
Don't.
Like that'd be.
Yeah, I hope they don't.
That would
but
be so cheap.
there could be. There could be.
Unless it's the suns.
Like,
it's the suns exploding. That's different enough that I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
We're also talking about there's the Remnant, who are clearly more advanced than you. Otherwise, the game's going to be really boring.
I mean, well, what about the idea of that stuff is what you said 9 billion years old?
Andromeda as a galaxy is 9 billion years old. We don't know when life started up and whatnot.
I believe that's an estimation too.
Yeah, I mean it's not exactly, but it's as close as we know in science.
So we know about that, but what about specifically the creation of the Helios cluster? Couldn't that be at a different time?
So the one thing about the Andromeda galaxy that we've noticed is that it's so big that it's possibly a bunch of galaxies have been sucked into it. There's another galaxy nearby called M31. It's got a real name. I think it's M31 or M33. That's getting sucked into it too. We know that's both the Milky Way is pulled in, so there could be...
Yeah, there's Milky Ways pulled in galaxies as well.
What BioFan and I postulated is that if they're heading to Andromeda directly, the quickest way to get to a cluster is to just stop at the edge.
Yeah, just go to the edge, yeah.
It's called the Triangulum.
Triangulum,
Galaxy.
thank you.
Triangulum is next door to it, and it's
And
a big
it
galaxy.
is believed that it's in orbit around Andromeda and is going to crash into it. Andromeda also going to crash into the Milky Way at some point. They're heading right at
Yeah, but
each
we are
other.
going to be
Yeah,
long
but
gone. That's
it's-
like...
Well, also, not just that, but the chances of any planet hitting the other
I saw that,
is
yes.
astronomical.
Isn't that crazy that you could
Yeah.
have a trillion-star galaxy crash into like a 200 billion star galaxy and have none of the
And have
stars
no
crash?
planet hit.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's
I think
crazy.
I think that's gravity and forces and physics and whatnot is the reason why.
Well, it's also just the sheer size. I mean, space is huge. I don't know if you noticed. Space
Yeah, I don't
is
know
really,
if you noticed, but
really
it's
big.
kind of massive.
So this is only helpful to people in California, but as a guide, if you were to put the sun and the closest star to the Earth in a proportional scale, if you put down a grain of sand in Los Angeles that represents the sun to size, you'd have to put a grain of sand down in San Francisco to be the next star. That's the proportions we're talking about. It's like 600
Do you
miles.
know how many, like, yeah, I was
It's
gonna
like
say,
300
can you give
miles
a-
between grains of sand. So that's how they can crash into each other without actually crashing into each other.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So here's one more thing that's along this line, and it's kind of been what we've been talking about. Are you guys familiar with the Fermi Paradox?
Yes.
Yes, but I'm sure there are people listening that have no idea what you're talking about.
So basically, there was a group of scientists that were together at lunch, and they were working out the probability that there is life in the universe. And the numbers are so overwhelmingly in favor of life in the universe that they pretty much assume that there has to be life, right? I mean, we mentioned there's 200 billion stars in the Milky Way.
And
there
a
might be
trillion
200
Andromeda.
billion galaxies. Actually, there was an article that came out a couple days ago talking about how that might actually be 10% of the universe. There might actually be, trillions of galaxies out there, 1 to 2 trillion galaxies. So life probably exists somewhere. So one of the scientists named Fermi asked, so if life is out there, where is everybody? If the math says they should be there and they're not there, why is that? And that's the Fermi Paradox. And a number of reasons have been postulated towards this, but we get into the most common one, or at least the most popular one, was talking about that societies reach a level where they can destroy themselves.
I mean, I remember a while ago, scientists are working on stuff of how to make black holes. I'm like, that's how we destroy ourselves.
That's how
Yeah,
we
right?
end the human race.
Either that, or how a bunch of countries around the world now have
Nukes.
nuclear weapons.
Life would still go on, just not our life. It would be a planet dominated by cockroach people. It would eventually become the cockroach
Yeah, I
people
mean, this is a
planet.
decent point where we can wipe ourselves out.
So, did the remnant wipe themselves out? Is that why they're not there? Is that why these...
It could be.
Maybe you can get to a certain point. And interestingly enough, as far as that theory goes, and Fermi didn't suggest that, there are other possible reasons, but interestingly enough, life in the Milky Way continued to wipe itself out in the Mass Effect universe. They created machines that destroyed them. That is in the lore.
And isn't one of the theories very similar to the story of Mass Effect, is that there is something out there stopping life from, like, kind of doing a cycle
That's
thing?
quite possible.
Is that one of the theories as well?
I think the most likely reason, and this isn't quite topical, is that faster than light travel might be impossible. And if it is, then we're so far away, as we mentioned with these stars, you can't reach that. But also,
I like
the chance
I like to think that
I don't want that to be true.
I like to think that it's other races have noticed us. They're just smart enough to go,
They look at us and they seem like amoebas or something.
or, I mean, here's the thing. Like, what do we recognize as life? There could be things that do live on other planets that we don't perceive as life.
I agree with that.
There's definitions.
I mean, there are things on Earth that they live and die so quickly that we don't really perceive them as ever living. And there could be something out there that could be the reverse of that, of it lives for so long
That they don't
that
notice
it
us.
moves. Yeah.
That's also a possibility.
So, they could be, I don't know, out at a planet that's past Pluto, like past what we can get a good glance at, and they could not recognize us as life, so they are not going to go over here.
The one thing with this Fermi paradox, though, that I wanted to bring it to, actually, do you have something to continuation of that, Tucker?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a quote that I absolutely love, and it is, there are two possibilities. Either life exists somewhere else, or it doesn't. Both possibilities are equally terrifying.
Who said that? I remember that quote. I like that quote a lot.
I don't know. I remember who said it.
You're quoting it from memory, right? Like, it just sticks with you.
The reason I'm remembering that is because I was replaying XCOM, and that's the opening quote of the game.
I want to say Stephen Hawking said that, but that's a guess. Because I believe I saw it in a Stephen Hawking documentary. But he may not have come up with that. Science is an old...
Yeah, I'm Googling that right now, but whenever you load a new game of XCOM, that's the opening quote. Oh, it's Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke, science fiction writer.
The exact quote is, two possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe, or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. That is the exact quote.
By the way, another game that if you like tactical strategy RPGs that have story and consequences and stuff, XCOM, good game to play. Go check it out.
Okay.
We've mentioned it on the show before.
It's pretty good.
So the thing I talked about earlier on how there are like definitions for a living organism, I had to look it up because I was like, I know some of them, but I probably won't remember all of them on the spot. They have to respond to some form of stimuli, have to be able to reproduce, have to be able to grow and develop, and have to be able to maintain homeostasis.
Those are all life as we recognize it.
As we recognize it, yeah.
Yeah.
There could be things out there that don't recognize us as life, so they might not come over here because
Like their definition of life is different. You're saying,
yeah,
Okay.
it's because they don't communicate with each other the way we do, because they don't move the way we do. That they're not life. That's just
You mean like
something.
beyond
We don't care.
beyond conceivability, kind of for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I can't even think of examples as that being an example.
Or
is
if you think about in what's the movie?
kind of a cop out, but
What's the movie? Oh gosh, what was it? Interstellar. On how have you guys seen it?
No.
I actually haven't seen it because I was told not to, but
I thought it was really good
wow.
until like the last 10 minutes. But do you mind me spoiling it for you for this concept?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
so
spoilers. Go ahead.
humans eat like some billion bajillion years in the future have technology to kind of like help us along to get further through to like progress and leave Earth and go on and whatnot because the world is ending. So they're so evolved compared to us that they actually live and see in more than 3 dimensions. So that's kind of a different way. You can't even conceive what life must be like for them because they live in more than 3 dimensions.
That kind of reminds me of a really cool kind of idea or concept, is that the second that time travel is created, like the absolute millisecond that once time travel is created, then time travel was created throughout our entire life. Because the second it's created means that we had the ability to go back in time and create time travel before the time it was created.
Well, technically it is possible, but you can only move forward.
Well, he's talking about backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Science fiction.
But it's just this is kind of a cool thought, is the absolute second that time travel is created, then we have had time travel throughout all of humanity's existence.
Cool. To go backwards, because you can go forwards.
Yeah.
Technically.
Well, obviously, we're going forward right now.
Oh, one thing. Can I throw in a different thing?
Go.
Okay.
Throw
so
stuff.
One thing, I'm curious as to, so we know according to Aaron Flynn that we flee the Milky Way, and we've talked about reasons why we're leaving before, but I find it interesting how we're going to Andromeda, supposedly, from what we know, ye old-fashioned way of just going faster than the speed of light straight to Andromeda. why are we going to Andromeda if it's so friggin' far away? And there are other small galaxies, such as the Sagittarius galaxy, which is like 61 light years away, and it's actually so close that it's being sucked into the Milky Way right now. So I'm wondering why we're not going somewhere closer. Probably because Andromeda is a well-known word, and it's marketable, and money and whatnot. Probably. What do you guys think?
Other than logic.
Because we're on the topic of science, I wanted to kind of talk about
Oxygen. Why do people breathe oxygen?
Always. I will always bring up oxygen and
ridiculous.
just how absolutely little sense it makes that every single race that's on the Citadel, none of them have, besides like the Corians and the Volus, none of them have a breathing thing. So you're telling me, like, the Elcor, humans, Turians, Solarians, everything breathes the exact same amount of oxygen.
Okay, Tucker.
Yes.
They don't have to breathe the same amount of oxygen.
No, but
There
if you
are
go up
different
in the
oxygen
mountains,
levels,
you have
different
to have
places
an
on
oxygen
Earth.
tank.
You just have a minimum requirement. So there
I
may be
feel-
like a shit ton more than what humans need.
But still,
I
that
feel bad for bringing this up
amount-
because we've had this actual conversation on Andromenerds before. So I got to steer you guys away from
will-
this.
Okay,
I know.
Minius, what are we talking about next?
Well, no, because I was going to talk about what is this? That Michio Kaku's he has like an 8-minute video talking about the science of Mass Effect and it relating to things nowadays. And I kind of summarized a lot of things and just kind of
Give it to us.
going through the topics and then see how we feel as I talk about each topic. The first one is invisibility cloak, and he believes that in a few decades we will be able to create something that actually resembles the Harry Potter invisibility cloak.
We already did. It already exists.
Well, he talks about microwave radiation, and we can already make things disappear, that it can wrap around an object and reform at the other end and make it appear that you aren't there at all. But it's not a big scale, but they hope to be able to make a cylinder out of this, and that the military are working on it right now.
How scary is that?
But no, they invented the invisibility. It was like some university invented.
Yeah, I also want to point out that this interview was created when Mass Effect 2 is released.
Okay, yeah, it was definitely after that.
2010, right? Early 2010.
About that time. So, there are something. It's been 6 years, so science has improved since then. But
Proved quite a lot. Yeah, I saw that and it makes sense. Like, that's actually a thing that could happen. There's some things in Mass Effect that are a little crazy and things in other science effect things that are closer to magic, but that's something that could happen, and that's really creepy. There's a dude in your room. Look around. You can't find him. He's in a magic barrel. That's not actually magic. It's science. He's just staring at you. He's still staring at you.
And that's what he says about the invisibility cloaks. When asked about biotics, he says, he talks about when people think about psychokinesis, they think of gods or superheroes. But with EEG scans and MRI scans, we are decoding the basic operating system of the mind. That right now, we can hook someone up to a computer, and can move objects. And he says that in the future, we will have conductors on objects and use our mind that will activate a computer within the object that will then move it.
That's not quite biotics, but yeah, the similar.
Well, it's moving things with your mind,
So it's like technology based.
It's a computer brain interface. That's.
I mean, I'm not sure how much Michio Kaku has played Mass Effect, but
Maybe
when
not
he's
at
kind
all.
of told,
Yeah.
when he's told because the person says biotics let people move things around.
Yeah,
is what he
they
says.
can edit it up to where they explain it all to him, or show him a clip.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
you never see that in the footage. So
I mean, we edit a lot in this podcast.
Yeah,
But
Exactly.
that would be along the lines of we actually don't edit as much as you think.
but more than
That'd be along the lines of more tech
I wouldn't know
abilities.
because I don't watch the stuff.
I hate you, Tucker. We put so much work into this.
Well,
I'm totally
in
kidding.
This. I'm not. All right. The next one is dark matter, which is Michio Kaku's specialty, and he says that dark matter is the cutting edge of science right now. That there is dark matter all around us, but scientists haven't found dark matter, but they hope to create it using the Hadron Collider. And dark energy is even better. It is intergalactic.
Before
Yes?
you get too far, what is dark matter?
It's the energy of nothing.
Is
It's
that what is that?
So if you look at
It is the energy of nothing.
Okay, I've heard different explanations of
if
that.
you look at space, it's all the empty stuff because they've put
No,
in like
that's not-
simulators. of
that's not
creating-
true.
No, he says that 73% of the universe is made of dark
Yeah,
energy.
it's all the empty stuff.
And that is what is pushing
Okay,
the galaxy
dark
apart.
energy and dark matter are different things as far as we understand.
23% is made of dark matter, while humans only make 0.03% of the known universe. Most of the universe is dark.
So basically, if you're listening to this and you're a total science novice and you're like not as geeky, dark matter, dark energy are things that we can see impacting the universe, but I mean we can see the impact, but we can't see them. So you're like, hey, things are moving apart, but we don't know why. That's dark energy.
Dark energy, we can see it. If you look out into space and you're seeing the empty, like kind of like empty blackness, that's dark. From my understanding, that's dark energy. We can see it.
We're gonna get someone who's really smart there, but you can't see
pretty
dark
sure-
energy.
I hope so. I really hope. I hope someone in the comment is.
You can't see dark energy, but you can see the effect of dark energy.
Yeah, because it's the energy of nothing.
I'm pretty sure dark matter and dark energy are both make up the empty blackness of the universe.
Empty blackness is generally just nothing, but the matter itself has a gravitational pull.
Yeah.
Dark matter itself, which is why if you were to run a calculation of the galaxy and why it's spinning around towards the center, obviously gravity is holding the galaxy together, and there's an enormous supermassive black hole at the center. But even with all that gravity, mathematically, all these stars should still break apart. So that's how we know that there's additional matter.
They've run simulations, and that's how they figured out initially, like, there has to be something there, because they've put in just all that we know is there in, like, a simulation, and basically, like, everything just implodes and goes to pfft. But when you put in the dark matter and the dark energy, then it all functions how it's supposed to.
I'm really hoping that someone is in the comment section, like, disproving all of our science stuff.
I totally welcome it. I'm totally welcome to accuracy. Bring it on.
I mean, in my history videos, I absolutely love this. Like, actually, the image that you're showing is the 1700 something famine, while the one that you talk about is the potato famine, and then like goes into specifics. I love those. I absolutely love those. I love being not like disproven of,
corrected.
oh, well, you're an asshole because I think this, but I love it when people are like, actually, if you look at this statistics, it shows this. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Just don't be a ginormous dick
Although
about it.
I hate the things of, oh, what with the history.
If you start with something like, you fucking idiot, and then write a comment, I ignore you. But if you show me a mistake that I've made, I am more receptive to it.
Yeah,
Same here.
I love it. Even like I know in the first history comparison, I said that the Protheans created the Citadel. I know I got that wrong. I've noticed that one. That's fine. That was a fuck up on my end. But in like the history part 2 where people are saying, oh, you mentioned birth control and cardboard boxes, but you don't mention the other world wars. The point of the video was to compare like the timeline of Mass Effect to our timeline, and nothing interesting in Mass Effect was happening then. So like those disprovements, I ignore those.
Okay, what?
But
what was
when-
it?
Anyway, yeah, back on topic.
Yeah.
If you want to chat about dark matter, dark energy with any of us, I imagine, hit us up in the comments section and we can chat about it, because that stuff's fascinating.
Actually, something that would be really cool is if someone in the comment section is like a PhD, rare chance, if there's like someone that is a PhD in some form of science,
And they're beside themselves after our conversation. They're like, oh my God.
if they are like in the comments, bringing them onto the podcast,
That'd be very
and actually
cool.
like having them talk about the science, that'd be cool.
I know some scientists through playing Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, but I believe they, very specific fields. There's a lot of science going
I
on.
could pull my high school
um,
physics teacher in. She's awesome. You want me to?
Oh, and let's get Michio Kaku actually on the podcast.
I think we need to do a little bit better, but we'll work on it.
And another one that he actually talks about are the Mass Effect relays. And he says that scientists believe that we can use something called negative matter, which is something like the dilithium crystals in Star Trek. would be something that would allow us to open up gateways to the fabric of space and time. Ionized equations have loopholes. When you put negative matter into ionized equations, everything gets wonky. It creates gateways. They are very unstable, but he thinks that negative matter is the mass effect. It is what the relays are using, that they are using negative matter.
Which is, from what I understand, the basis of the Mass Effect science is based off of real theoretical science.
That basically Mass Effect relays are wormholes, and that is how they are traveling around so fast, as they're going through wormholes.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's actually very, very close to that. I don't know if they use wormholes specifically, but the idea is that if you don't have any mass, you can move faster than light. So they came up with the element 0, which allows you to drastically reduce the mass of any object, allowing you to go faster than light. And those mass relays, in essence, create a corridor of completely mass-free space, which is just like a wormhole, pretty much. This is all.
And something that is really cool is he says that some forms of teleportation are capable now, but only on an atomic level.
Yeah, I saw that. I want teleportation really bad.
Yeah, but so we can actually teleport things, but only on an atomic level. And it's not even teleportation. It is, we can destroy an atom that's here and create a clone of that atom over here. It's not teleporting it. It's destroying it and creating a clone.
So what you're saying is every time we go through a mass relay, our shepherd dies and a new one is formed that is the exact same.
Well, no, that I'm talking about what we're doing, what we can do now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Real life.
So, teleportation, isn't that like a theory of Star Trek, is that whenever they get beamed up, that they are literally killing the people and just creating clones?
Yeah, it may not be with Star Trek specifically, but that is common.
That is
with
dark.
that kind of teleportation.
And the last part of the video, he notes that currently we are a Type 0 civilization, that we get our energy from dead plants, that we are
and dead dinosaurs.
Years. Well, yeah.
Just
that
dead
we
stuff.
are 100 years away from a Type 1, which is like Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon, which is a planetary civilization. After that is Type 2, which is colonizing a few stars, which is what Mass Effect is. It is a Type 2 civilization. And after that goes to Type 3, which is galactic civilizations like Star Wars.
Hey, what's up? Mass Effect Andromeda Type 3.
So Mass Effect is a Type 2 civilization, which is set as you're colonizing a few stars, and that you're competing with others colonizing new areas, that not every single thing is colonized. Although in Star Wars they're still colonizing new areas, that there's still unknown places, but it's a galactic civilization. That in Mass Effect there's the Solarians, the Asari, and everything like that, while in Star Wars they're all together in a sense.
Science.
And that's basing off my limited Star Wars knowledge.
If you have any questions about science and how it relates to Mass Effect, you should email us at andromenerds@gmail.com, which we will now read a bunch of questions from. Because is there anything I should know?
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
What's up, Kelly?
Yeah, Ramon Rujit. His last name is Ruijgt, and
Yeah, I'd have to see it on a...
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how to pronounce that. Oh, hey, before we get to his question, did you guys do questions in 9.5?
No, we went
did
quickly,
not.
So
Yeah.
Sweet. So his question is, what are your top 3 favorite soundtracks in the Mass Effect series?
You mean songs?
Yeah.
Soundtracks.
Well, soundtracks, if you're going to go with the top 3 soundtrack, a soundtrack is all the songs in a game. So my top 3 soundtracks would be Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. All right. I think he meant songs.
Let's just go with what's your
song.
favorite specific track
Yeah.
from the Mass Effect?
What are your 3 favorites?
I don't know if I can come up with 3 off the top of my head because I know the tracks, but I don't have names associated with
Okay,
them.
I think I got 3. Leaving Earth is my favorite. Then my second favorite is probably the map theme. It's not technically on the CD, but it's a track.
It actually is on the CD.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah,
And
you're
then-
talking about Uncharted Worlds. That's the only one I know because that's by far my favorite.
And then I think my third favorite would probably be like Future for the Krogan. That one's really good.
Yeah, I would say Future for the Krogan, an End Once and For All, and the Suicide Mission track.
So I'd have to like listen to these all again and pick up and like, oh yeah, it's that one.
Actually, Mass Effect Follower has a video on this of 9 tracks to remember of the top 3 soundtracks voted for by the community in a poll that I like made 1,000 times. But
Unselfish plug.
the
Go.
top 3 sound. Oh yeah, the top 3 soundtracks of each channel. Go check that one out.
Yeah, I really like the Mass Effect soundtrack.
I can't wait to hear what the Andromeda music is like. I can't wait.
I love listening to the soundtracks, but when it comes to editing, it's really difficult to find soundtracks that don't, go 10 seconds all nice and calm and 10 seconds very loud.
Yeah, it's hard to find one that you can talk over. That's why I do the map theme all the time, because it's really easy to talk over.
People ask, like, why are you using this one against? It's very difficult to edit crazy tracks that go all around.
Yeah,
So
the
I
Mass
just
Effect
typically-
soundtrack, when you buy it specifically, they go up and down and up and down. It's not
Yeah,
something
there are a few of them that are decent.
I've edited a few to make it to where the up parts are still kind of it's a lot of time to do it to make it background music, but the map theme is really easy to do. With Dragon Age, I had to go in and edit a bunch of stuff to make it to where I could talk over it easily.
It takes a lot to, and there are rare moments where if it really fits the video, that I will take the time to do that. Like the Mass Effect Paragon Lost, none of the Paragon Lost songs were even, so I took a long time to do that. But for the most part, I'll just throw on a Future for the Krogan or an End Once and For All because those are nice.
Yeah, those are nice,
even
easy to talk
ones.
over. Yeah.
And they're also very good.
Yeah, they're also
So-
beautiful. Yeah.
And I don't use Mass Effect music because I'm scared.
No, they'll
'Cause-
let you.
What do you
they'll-
use?
I understand that, but I like my own music, so I use
Okay.
that. You guys like the song at the beginning of Andromenerds, right?
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah,
I dance to it every time.
That's a Minius point. I picked that one out. You know what's unfortunate about that song?
What?
So I pick out a lot of songs from a podcast service, and they always have, at the very least, the name of the song and the artist. The name of our song at the beginning of this podcast, there is no name, and there is no artist. I don't know who it's by. Like, I picked it out, and it was so good. I would pass over something that I couldn't actually credit to somebody. But I believe it's like the name of the track is Positive Electronic Upbeat something.
Okay.
That's it. And there's no artist. I don't know
I
who.
think that's also the name of my ringtone, but I'm not quite sure.
Hold on, I want to get this exact name. It's if you wrote this song, let me know because I want to give you credit. It's an awesome song. Positive Electronic Theme Soft. That is our theme song.
I dance to it every time during editing. I'm like, do 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 do.
All right, what else do we got as questions
All
go?
right. Dave Brinkus, this one's a decent length, so stay back. But when the game finally comes out, I imagine that it'll take quite a while for everyone to complete. Do you guys have plans to release videos in episode format that is somehow per mission to prevent later story spoilers, or only talk about general stuff? Or will everyone wait to complete the game to resume talking about it in a complete review? I am very fearful of having the game accidentally spoiled by the internet.
So
That's completely understandable.
So leave
And-
the internet
Oh, yeah.
until you finish the game, because otherwise it's impossible.
I mean,
First of all,
I don't know about you guys. I really don't want Mass Effect Andromeda spoiled, but I'm going to be looking at every single comment in my video feed and removing spoilers. Like I'll have the game spoiled for myself just so some person in the comment doesn't go, "Oh, the dad dies."
I'm gonna
in
try.
the
I'm
second
gonna
mission.
try my very best.
I'm just gonna leave
Yeah,
the
but-
internet until I finish the first.
I think
Playthrough.
for the first month or so, I'll have disclaimers and stuff. But as far
Oh,
as
yeah,
how to
I
cover
mean-
this stuff individually, I mean, we're all going to be doing it different, I imagine.
Yeah.
Depends
Yeah.
on what kind of videos you want to do. I have not 100% decided if I'm going to play all the way through it as a Let's Play, because I haven't done those before, and I know people really like
Yeah.
them, but there's a bunch of people Let's Playing it. But one thing I think we should do, is we should have an Andromenerds Mass Effect Andromeda spoiler cast.
Multiplayer. And we should have it and we should also do like, I know you just talked about Let's Plays. I think we should do like a few rounds of multiplayer all together and record that.
Multiplayer is different, but I think we will need to discuss this.
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean, we'll definitely discuss it. It's a good question.
We are definitely sensitive to spoiling the game for you. I do not want to spoil this game for you.
I mean,
I do not want to do that.
I know that when the game comes out, I'm still going to be making the same amount of videos. My channel's still going to produce the same amount of videos as they do, and it's going to be very difficult to make a non-spoiler video like 2 days after the game comes out. So, you know, on all of our things, we'll say, warning, this might spoil the game.
Well, it depends on what you make your video about, because depending on what you do, it's obvious that it's going to contain spoilers or not.
Well, I mean, just think. Gameplay in the background might show something. If you talk about, say, you do a lore video on, like, the Remnant, that might spoil the game.
Well, then it's obvious that there's spoilers in there, and they shouldn't watch that until they finish the game. That's on them, Tucker. It's not on you. It's on them.
No, I understand being sensitive. If you want to talk about how you would prefer for us to go about things on Andromenerds as far as spoilers are concerned when it comes to Mass Effect Andromeda, let us know in the comment section or email us at andromenerds@gmail.com.
I'm curious, when do you guys think that it is free to talk about spoilers in a game without having to give a warning?
The grace period's about 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, it's long.
Really?
Yeah.
That's way too big. That's way too big for me.
The grace period for like general discussion anywhere online is like 5 to 6 months. But for this, I think honestly, people should just know that the game came out, and if they haven't played it, then don't listen to us.
Be a little surprised if people who are listening to us don't play the game as soon as possible.
Yeah. Or at least to watch like a Let's Play or something.
Pretty sure they're going to be playing the game when it comes out after listening to us. Or like a week after it comes out at most. But we're all going to be busy playing it, so we'll probably have to take a break from the podcast until we all beat it.
We'll figure something out. This is a question that, we have 5 months at least?
Yeah, we have.
So we will address this as we go on, specifically talking about where you want the podcast to go once the game releases. For the moment, we got all kinds of promotional stuff to cover starting in a couple weeks, so we're going to concentrate on that.
I mean, my kind of rule of thumb is a lot shorter than you guys. For me, it's for a movie, 2 weeks, and for a game, 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, you can talk about a game.
I will probably be doing spoilers quicker than that, but I will be doing spoiler videos, yeah. You're talking about with no warnings?
Yeah, without warnings.
Okay. Yeah,
after 4 weeks, you can just talk about it.
I do not have an official policy. I have had one channel in my lifetime.
It depends on what I want to do, because
I mean,
if they haven't played the game yet, it's on them, you know?
I mean, for me, it's like for a TV show, if it's like the opening, say like Walking Dead, when that airs, you know, I'd say a few days, but for a movie, 2 weeks before you could just openly talk about spoilers without someone going, oh, I haven't seen it yet. Well, that's on you. And then for a game, 4 weeks.
And, like, our listeners will probably be busy playing Andromeda and not listening to us until they beat Andromeda.
Exactly,
So I don't think we need to worry about it at all.
I'm not sure about that. I think this is going to become a podcast that people listen to while they're playing multiplayer.
Yeah, that's what I would listen to the Rooster Teeth podcast, both the regular one and the patch, while playing multiplayer.
Like I said, this is an excellent question that we will address in detail when the time comes. We're still a little bit far out.
All right, Jay Thomas has a pretty simple question of what do you want the pilot of the Tempest to be like? Do you want someone like Joker again, or something other than that?
Humorous, but with a different kind of humor.
That's tough. That's tough to say. I mean, it really depends on all the personalities that are with you.
Because I don't want another Joker, because we have that. That's Joker. I don't want another Joker. I want something different, but I love Joker because the jokes and how just awesome he was.
You can have totally different personality and humor style to where you won't even feel like it's associated with Joker at all. Like, Joker's humor was kind of more the immature, sarcastic-y kind of. This one could be different.
It's a tough question to answer, really.
Yeah.
All right, the last question we have is from Joe K, which I think is joke because it's Joke. Either way, this person's question is, my question is a simple one, but how do you believe the candidates for the Andromeda program were selected? What skills and talents, aside from them involving military experience, do you believe would have been sought after? Or what about civilians? Do you think civilians have been selected?
This is a very excellent question.
Yeah.
But there is enough going on right now that we don't know enough about the program. Like, for instance, if they're leaving before the Reapers show up, how many people are actually on board with that? You know what I mean? Because there are people that don't believe the Reapers are coming, so they wouldn't work on this. Or they'd want to believe in fighting, so it could be a private organization. It could be splinter groups from the militaries, and they would all have different ideas on how to go about selecting people. But the basic question is still valid. What kind of people would you want?
I feel like, that they would find the people that are fantastic, that they are doing really well, and they give them an offer of, hey, this is what we're doing, and they can say yes or no, and those that are obviously in Andromeda said yes. And then, because there are multiple arcs, one of the arcs that is later than all the others would be a civilian arc, those that could pay to get a ticket.
It's probably they're all going at the same time, though. I don't think they leave.
Well, I would imagine that they would send the military first and then, give it a week.
It looks like they're sending everybody at once.
It looks like they're sending everybody at once,
Really?
but the military one may be in the front. I don't know. But in terms of civilians, it would probably be either wealthy people funded the expedition or they selected people because they were, hyper fertile or something since they're starting a new home for humanity.
Or it could be a lottery-based kind of thing of, people that wanted to be in it, they put their thing in a lottery.
Or a combination of all of them,
Yeah.
Yeah, it largely depends on how many people buy into this idea of leaving the Milky Way, because we don't know the extent of that.
I still think they're fleeing the collectors, because I think that makes the most sense. If they're fleeing,
I don't think that makes sense at all. Still don't think that makes sense.
Just try to think of how did they pick people to go to America?
People left on their own, basically.
People left on their own to go.
Well, yeah, it was people left on their own, but when they were
explore the new world, make money, and
it was gold, God, or glory. It were the 3 Gs.
It's not quite the same because you can go back and forth.
Well, what I'm meaning is, those that would go is, some of them were carpenters that could build and work on housing. And some of them were farmers. So, it's not all going to be military. There's going to be civilians of their version of farm.
Yeah, we're going to have everything. If we're building a new civilization, we're going to have, ecological experts. We're going to have scientists of all sorts and shapes and what's nots, militaries, everything.
Yeah, you might need a skill to go along, and then you can take your family, too.
So I feel like, there's obviously going to be civilians, but I imagine that they're going to have talents. And, well, actually, an example for right now, the Mars program. Remember when they selected out of 50,000 candidates, 6 people to go on a one-way expedition to Mars?
You mean the Mars one?
Yeah.
Mars one, yeah.
Did they actually finish that?
Yeah, who'd they pick?
I think they did. I have no memory of that, but they picked people, and I don't think any of them had the same talent. I remember one of them was he was a PhD in mathematics or something, and none of the others were big with math.
Yeah, obviously you're gonna pick the people based on strengths to be the most successful, so you're gonna pick people with different strengths.
And also a variety so they can try a colonization attempt.
And probably some form of fertility testing as well.
I remember one guy was really weird. He talked about his masturbation habits.
And
weren't they going to make that a reality show? No, they were going to make that a reality show. So they're like, what's weird about you? What can we sell? And that would be something that he would go.
Yeah, I watched this. That was all one big joke, and it was just they were grabbing the weird people.
Yeah, very possible.
But, it could be something similar to that of, something that we actually did a year or 2 ago.
It could be. We don't know the scale of this evacuation. We assume it's very big. We don't know who's in charge of it, although we can make some educated guesses. We don't know what percentage of the people you have to select from. It could be very small. For instance, if they are fleeing the Reapers, not everybody believes the Reapers are coming. In fact, probably most of the galaxy doesn't believe they're coming. But still, the galaxy's enormous, hundreds of billions of people, if not trillions. You're going to find a large population to choose from. There are a whole bunch of factors here.
Well, they are leaving
difficult.
from Earth, at least in that
we think.
portion of no, because they've mapped it to part of the trailer. It looks exactly like.
Well, they're loading ships on an Earth, but are they loading ships other places?
That's a good question. That from what we've seen so far, they're loading people from Earth onto the ships. We know other aliens that contributed are there as well.
By the way, there is a book coming out called Mass Effect Andromeda Lost Ark. Did you guys see that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the book listings. Let me pull those up. The first one is like Nexus something.
Yeah, Nexus Uprising, and one called Lost Ark. And the idea that these arcs have to go... I imagine they would go in a pack, but if they don't, one could easily get lost.
Yeah, the first one
yeah,
is...
I mean, space is huge. We talked about that.
The first one is Nexus Uprising. The second... and that one's due March 2017, according to the Titan Books listing.
Yeah, treat these dates with extreme...
Because these have changed.
Yeah.
So these have changed significantly. Titles have changed. Authors have changed. All sorts of change. But the Mass Effect Andromeda Nexus Uprising is due for March 2017, which is also when the game is very likely to come out. Andromeda Lost Ark is due for the summer of 2017. And then Mass Effect Andromeda Initiative is due for autumn of 2017. And then the to-be-announced Mass Effect book title is due for summer 2018.
But into the idea of arcs, there's still a lot of questions that would change the answer to that specific question we just got. So it's very difficult. It's very interesting. I'm very interested in finding what happens. But I think Tucker is pretty straight along the lines where you want to acquire people with skills, and as many people with skills as possible in a diverse as array, whatever the hell. Now I'm breaking down. We've been going for too long. As many different fields as possible. For instance, if we were going, we would need someone who was good at biology, because I'm not. We work on videos. What kind of videos are awesome that you're doing?
Something I did recently was I did a massive news update for Mass Effect Andromeda that now has like almost 40,000 views on it, and it's doing really well. And I just hit 10,000 subscribers.
Hey, that's awesome.
So happy. So pumped. Get it.
Sound effect, go.
I'm, by the time this comes out, a brand new series on Mass Effect Follower has come out about What If, which goes over hypothetical scenarios. And the first one that's out is, what if the genophage was never created? And it goes over, how the war against the Krogans would have played out.
I'm looking forward to that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're on Twitter, start tweeting at people, because we got the Space Bear Initiative going on.
Yes!
It's very important. It is by far the most important initiative in the history of initiatives. So come November, we need your vote on the Space Bear Initiative. Hashtag Space Bear Initiative. Tweet at your favorite Twitter people. Someone tweeted at the President of the United States, by the way. I love that.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I asked people to tweet. I was just thinking random people. And I think it was Blair who tweeted at the President of the United States. So
you
this,
can tell him to
awesome.
tweet at the devs about the Space Bear Initiative.
this year, who's your favorite dev? Or one of your favorite devs?
Yeah, tweet your favorite dev
Tweet your favorite
about the
dev.
Space Bear Initiative.
It's very important that you tweet your favorite devs. Hashtag Space Bear Initiative. It's very, very important.
And for those that are listening to this for the first time and have no idea what we're talking about, so there was the original T-shirt of the Andromeda Initiative, and everybody was... Oh, no, it was the Pathfinder Initiative. That was the first T-shirt, and everybody was like, what's this? And then just recently, Jas Hendricks tweeted out an Andromeda initiative t-shirt. And so we were like, well, apparently there's a lot of initiatives in this game. We'll come up with our own initiative. And we came up with the Space Bear initiatives.
Space Bear Initiative!
Space Bear Initiative! From that big creature thing in the EA Play trailer. We have been calling it a Space Bear. And so
you mean Space Bears.
We need Space Bears. We love Space Bears. Space Bear Initiative! Yeah!
I'm actually excited to see what that thing is actually called.
It's called a Space Bear. That is its
called a
name.
Space Bear, Tucker.
That is its
You got to be
name.
committed to the cause.
That is its only name. Its only valid name is Space Bear.
Okay, that's all the nerdiness we've got for today. Join us next week as we break down your Mass Effect art. If you're listening to this, it's probably too late to send something in, but we got lots of cool stuff for you. 2 weeks from now, we are doing an N7 day preview show. So make sure you get up on that. It'll be releasing November 3rd.
Like 4 days before, so be sure you watch it in time for N7 Day.
Correct. If you have any questions for us, Mass Effect related or otherwise, feel free to email us at andromenerds@gmail.com, and your questions might be read by Tucker, and he probably is going to get your name wrong.
I've actually had a few people ask me to mispronounce their name.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Dude, they enjoyed it.
Along with our co-hosts, be sure to follow Andromenerds on Twitter if you like this podcast and would like to see some more awesome videos. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our respective channels. Tucker, you got the tiebreaker.
What?
Are you not listening to our important conversation?
Are you not listening to this?
I was watching a cat video.
Oh, boy. Were you actually watching the cat video or?
It was a cat video.
Oh, you again?
It was a cat that because someone couldn't get a cat flap on their cottage, so they built like a cat ladder that goes out of their
So when we're not
window.
talking to you on this podcast, do you just watch cat videos?
No.
You sure?
Yeah. Sometimes they're dogs.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.